just want to set the context that is. So some of the questions may be related to the logical with Java accomplishment. Okay, so that's something similar to it. So any questions if you have in between, I am ready to take up at the end of the call, not in between the discussions. Okay, so I'll surely answer for your things at the end. Okay, I got your profile. I have opened it. So why don't you quickly introduce yourself so that I'll get to know better, so that I'll be in line with your profile.
Yeah. So basically, I have done BTech in Computer Science and Engineering. I have 5 years of exposure to IT. If we talk about my experience, so currently from the past 2 years, I have been working with Altron for Cisco client. I have been working into a networking based product where you can actually onboard a huge number of devices within a network, and basically you can control the flow from one node to another node within a network. So this is a kind of SDN controller that we are actually trying to build. Apart from that, you can also configure things like circuits, etc., onto the device, fetch certain configurations from the device. If we talk about my current roles and responsibilities, so I'm basically involved into grooming the discussions. Grooming the requirements that we actually get from the customer. Apart from that, majorly involved into implementation of different features, unit testing, and obviously bug fixing as well. So if you talk about the technology stack, I have been working into microservices where almost all the services are there into Spring Boot, apart from a couple of services which are there into Go and Python. We also have on the database side we are using MongoDB for that. Apart from this, we are for the inter-service communication part we are actually using Kafka, which is asynchronous mode of communication, and we have also a couple of services into which the REST endpoints are exposed for the UI to actually get the data from there. Apart from that, we are actually deploying and testing on Docker environment, and we are using Git as versioning tool, as well as we are using Jenkins for the build pipeline. For unit testing purpose, we are using JUnits and Mockito framework for mocking purpose. And yeah, more or less we are doing this. Prior to this, actually I was working with Wipro for a short tenure of time, for around 6 months only. So there actually I was involved into a project where of healthcare domain where actually uh, different employees can actually enroll themselves for healthcare and insurance related benefits. That was also there in Spring Boot itself. And before this, actually I was working again with Cisco and from Altron. So there actually I worked on a project which is more of an IVR system, where using the UI the admin can actually configure user experiences like press 1 for this, press 2 for this, things like that. And when a caller calls in, they get to hear the instructions. So that was also there into Spring Boot, and using these technologies itself.
Okay, nice. Okay, I before I start into the technical one, I just have a simple question. Maybe you would probably make me understand correctly. So I could see in 5 years you have been changed 3 times, right? So you are looking for the fourth change. So any specific reason changing very quickly?
Yeah, so basically, if you talk about these 5 years, for 4.5 years, I actually worked with Cisco for Altron basically. In the between, I moved to Wipro for just 6 months, but because of location change basically, so actually I joined Wipro, and I was actually there in Gurgaon office of Wipro, and then they were actually moving me to this. Chennai location. So because of which
Sorry, your
I
voice is breaking. Mansi, your voice is breaking.
okay.
You lost.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, so actually, for from 5 years to 4.5 years, I was actually working with Cisco. In between, I changed to Wipro, but because of location change, basically, I was being moved to Chennai. So that is why I joined this organization back for which previously I was working. So I started working for Cisco again. So because of location changed majorly, I actually changed from Wipro to Altron, and right now I am changing. The reason is again because of COVID. Most of the projects that Cisco had, so I work at the client location basically. So most of the projects that Cisco had actually are being withdrawn by them, and now the Cisco guys will continue working on it. So because of that, basically I am again basically you can say I am on bench kind of situation in Altron. So because of which I'm looking for a change.
Okay, so I would say that you have a location constraints, right? So what is your preferred locations? I mean, would you like to work?
Yeah, so actually, I am not very much interested to work into Chennai only. That is the only, I think, location constraint I have. I have actually never visited over there, but yeah, I actually heard that over there the temperature is too high and it's quite difficult to adjust basically. So that is the only constraint I had. Without except Chennai, I don't have any location constraints.
Okay, so let's move on to the technical one. Okay, so
Sure.
um, let me start with the core Java because any developer, Java developer, if you call it right, so should know core Java, right?
Yeah.
So I'll start with core Java. So how do you rate yourself?
So I would rate myself around 8 out of 10 in Core Java.
Okay, rest of the technologies, what do you wanted to take me? You can just rate in that technologies. You can call the technology and then rate yourself.
Sure. So if you talk about Spring Boot, I think I will rate myself around 8.5 out of 10 or maybe 9 because I feel I have ample knowledge of Spring Boot. I have been working into it since a long time. And apart from that, on the MongoDB side, also I would rate myself around 8 out of 10 because I have actually worked using JPA. So most of the queries we get through JPA repository. So because of that, with the query part, I'm not very much comfortable. Honestly speaking, I have to check by trying again and again things. So yeah, and with Kafka, I would rate myself as 8.5 basically out of 10. Along with that, if you talk about rest, so I would rate myself 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think that's it.
You haven't talked about microservices.
Yeah,
You,
yeah. So since the past 2 years, I have actually been working into microservices. So there, I would rate myself as 8 out of 10 because I'm still like exploring different things.
so you have only experience with the NoSQL DBs, right? So do you have any experience with RDBMS?
Honestly speaking, no, but yeah, I have a basic idea about it, and I am like able to form the queries of it.
Fine, no problem. So do you have any experience with cross platforms?
Which platforms?
Cross platforms.
No.
So you worked only in Windows.
I have actually like we usually have our virtual machines onto which we deploy the services. Those are actually basically there in CentOS. But yeah, apart from that, there we just simply use a copy command and things like that. Not very much into it, but yeah, I have used CentOS to some
Okay,
extent.
fine. So let me start with core Java. Okay.
Sure,
So I have something like this. Okay, I'm just typing in your the query. Okay.
sure,
Let's snippet. So you just tell me if you can understand and what would be the best.
sure.
So this is snippet. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm trying to compile and run this. Okay, so will it get compiled first? And if it is getting compiled, what is the output?
No, I don't think this will actually get compiled because your S is null, and if you do a null dot equals, it will simply return you null pointer exception.
Okay, so what can we do to get compile this code? This
Okay.
is going to be null, but I want to compile this code and without, I mean, changing the logic rather than no value get changed, but logic can
Can
be changed.
Okay, can we instead of using s dot equals either use objects dot non null and then pass s into it, or maybe we can actually use string utils dot I think it is blank method or non null method. For that we can actually check in that way.
Object not equal to null mm, will pass this compilation error. Runtime may help, right? But how come it will get passed? If you are saying something like this, let me type in. So understand your things. So yes, not equal to null, and then something like this. Something like this you are saying. Object not equal to null and then s dot equals.
Yeah, maybe you can do this.
So how come? See, this is a compilation error, right? So how come the compiler will know the value? You said null pointer exception. So compiler will again throw the null pointer exception, right?
No, see, actually, there are you are actually using this one. You can use this one, right? Objects dot non. Let me just write it for you. Then you can pass s. We can use this into the if condition, right? So if it is like I can use a not over the here. So if
Can you rewrite that sentence to get compiled? The
yeah,
snippets.
yeah, sure. I'll just rewrite it for you. Yeah, so it will be something like this. See, if you pass into objects dot non null, this just returns you true or false. If it is not going to do a null pointer, right? It will return you true or false. If suppose it is actually null, right? It will actually return you false, and then I have done a not over there, so this will print hello. Another thing,
But
you can use
I,
optional as well.
Mansi, the actual objective is to compare the string with the some values. Do you see s dot equals of something,
So I think we
right?
can
So
yeah.
you are doing only check, not null check. You are not comparing with my values. So how come that that's the same code as the above one which you written? It's not same,
So I think
right?
we can use optional for this, and then basically we can
Can
check.
you? And what is the optional? I didn't get you.
Optional is basically a wrapper around you can say an object where you can actually check like if it is if that value to avoid null pointer exception basically that is there. So basically what you can do is you can simply check if this is not null, then only you can proceed to actually get this s dot equals whatever
See,
check you are doing.
everything will work in runtime, whatever you're talking about it. You are getting compilation exceptions, correct?
Yeah.
You said it compiled. Compiler will read each and every line. It doesn't matter that whether if you check not null or not, right?
No, this is basically a runtime exception. Null pointer exception is
Null pointer is basically runtime exception. So you mean to say that above code will get compiled and then it will only throw during runtime?
yes,
Are you sure?
yeah.
Earlier, I just tracked this conversation. You said it will not get compiled. It will throw null point exceptions.
No, actually, null
You are
point.
saying now you are saying it will get compiled and it will throw only during runtime. make your statements.
I
I just wanted to make sure that what is your stand?
I think
Will
there
it
is
get compiled?
I think there is a confusion basically. I mentioned this will throw null pointer exception. So null pointer is exception itself is a runtime exception.
Oh, okay. So this code will get compiled.
Yeah, this will get compiled, no doubt.
Oh, okay, great. So that's a very good exercise for you after that this discussions. So I have written something now. Okay, so I'm trying to compile this and trying to run. So will it get compiled? My question, I mean, if you answer the second part, I will not understand whether you have answered the first part. So I just wanted to know if you say there are two parts in it. So will this get compiled? Yes or no? Then if it is yes, what is the output? If it is no, if it is not getting compiled or any exception, what is the exception? So in that direction let me carry on. So what is the I just want to know will this get compiled and then will you get any output or it won't get compiled?
Yeah, I think this will get compiled definitely.
Okay, so the above one also get compiled, this one also get compiled, correct?
Yeah.
So this will give any I mean what is the output when you run it?
Okay, so for the output basically, if you see null is this and then it is doing equals of null.
Any exception during runtime with this?
Actually, this will not definitely print hello, but exception if you're talking about. I what I think is basically null will
So your
be
question first answer is it will get compiled. So will it run? Yes, it will run. So what is the output? And so will it give any error during runtime? And if it is not, what is the output? If it is yes, what is the error?
okay. Null equals and it is okay. So it is actually comparing equals value. If you talk about so I think it will get compiled and there will be no exception as part of it, but it is not actually going to print hello because you are actually comparing this you know null inside. So basically we are comparing string null with null that is not having the value as null. So this equals will actually return false.
Okay. So it won't print anything, but it
Yeah.
will get executed successfully without
Yeah.
any issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. So you have some exercise for you to do it at your home after the discussions. Let's see this one next. I have some exercise for you. Okay, so maybe not more than 3 minutes. And the time bound due to the will restrict our discussions to the 40 minutes. Okay, this is a list I have.
Sure.
Okay, so I just this is a dynamic list. Currently it is this. Next time it could be let's say list L equal to something different. Okay, so let's say next time I can give this is a let's say input to my method.
Sure.
Okay, so what I'm saying is uh, maybe next time it could be anything else. So what the output which I'm looking for it is something like when I take the first one is the input, then 2 is occurred 3 times, right? And 1 is 3 times, 1 is 3 times, and 3 is 2 times, and 0 is 1, right? This is the output which I'm seeing it. So what is that? 2 is
Yeah.
the number which occurred 3 times, 1 is the number which occurred 3 times, 3 is the number which occurred 2 times, 0 is the number which is occurred, maybe sorry, yeah, 1 time, correct. So when I take the next one, it will be different output, right? So different input, different output. So I just wanted to make sure, I mean, I want to know how do we achieve this particular output with a given input. I wanted to see the number of occurrences of each numbers.
Okay. Can we use like some logic, like I have suppose a map of integer comma
You can
integer
use anything in Java, I mean, especially in core Java, collections, strings, objects, whatever it is. But I need to achieve this. And the output should be optimal one. What is mean by optimal? The performance oriented. There are many ways to solve, but I wanted to know the easiest way and also the, what you can say, the quicker. The result should be quicker, right? Otherwise, if we have 1 crore numbers, if it is a lengthier process, it might take a lot of time to do these operations, right? So
Yes.
I wanted to know the shortest way to do that, and in using Java.
Yeah, so actually we can use basically a map over here where the key will be basically the number and the value will be the count of it. So initially, like I can actually store all the numbers as keys into my map, and then I can initially store count as 0. As soon as some number comes in, I can actually get the count by map dot get the key, and I'll get, like for example, at the first place I'll get 0. I will increment it every time I get it and then do a put. So get and put will actually have O1 complexity. So I
Sure,
think,
no problem. I'm fine with your things. So would you be able to write it the snippet
yeah,
of it?
sure.
The discussion you have done to me.
Yeah,
You
sure.
can write it in the paper if you have typing issues. You can write in the pen and you can solving the screen. That's also okay for me. Which are you are comfortable?
Shall I just share my screen and write on the notepad if you're okay?
No, if you could type it and everybody can see it in the meeting participants.
Okay, sure. I'll
Only
just.
we are there, so somebody can join later and can see. If you have typing issues, you can type. I mean, write in the notebook and you can show me. No issues. Or you can type in the note. I mean, notepad and
Yeah,
whichever
I'll
you
just
feel.
type in the notepad and just ping you. Uh,
One more minute.
Yeah, sure. I
We can
have
share what
just,
was it right now, so
sure.
let's we can add up on later. Can you just paste
I
it?
have actually done something like this. So I have just simply basically iterated over. Okay, actually I have made a mistake. Let me just. Mm, so it has to be actually. Yeah, yeah. I think that is fine. Yeah, so basically, I have iterated over the entire list from starting to the end. So I'm just doing a list, a map.get of that particular element that is there into the list. So I've actually initially populated the map with the list elements and all the counts as 0. So in the logic, basically, I have to do map.get and that element. So I'll actually get the count. For the first time it will be 0. I will just increment it and then do a map dot put element, and I will update the count, incremented count. For the next time, suppose the same element is there, so I'll get the count as 1 and then
There is no
increment in.
logic. Mansi, your code says you have map and then you have for loop. Okay, you are looping through the list and then you are getting the map element. Okay,
Yeah,
and then you are incrementing the count,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you are putting the element in the map with a count.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Count you have not initialized.
So you want me to
And
initialize?
if the map does not have first time it won't having it, so what will be the output?
I
Map dot
thought
get will be
you
right.
I
How
thought
come
you
it is
just want the pseudo logic. If you want me to put everything inside map, I can also do that.
no, not like that? So what I'm looking for it is whatever you write 4 or 5 lines. I mean that should work. This the map dot get of it will give null, right, if there are no values in it, correct?
Yeah,
So you are incrementing the count with the null.
yeah, yeah. I will
It was,
actually.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, see, that's the thing which I am looking for it. So, I mean, there is no logic correctly mapped here.
So I thought you actually want the logic part only. I'll just put the values inside the map. There's no issue with that. So it will be something like this. Initially, I am getting from the list and I have put all the elements inside the map.
Okay, you are putting everything inside the map. Okay, everything to 0. I doubt about this. So okay. Anyhow, so I'm okay. But this code, I don't think whatever the output which we are looking for it may not get it. See, okay. So this may be your home exercise for you to do after the discussions. Okay. So let us move on. So we are running short of time. So in Core Java, do you have experience with exceptions handling?
Yeah.
So can you talk about the hierarchy of exception class?
Yeah, so basically, exception classes, you can say, we have exception, we have throwable as well, and apart from that, we have runtime exception as well. So basically, we have a throwable class which has exception basically, and then inside the exception we have certain checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Like runtime we have as part of unchecked. This is how it is.
Okay. So only you have runtime except I mean checked and unchecked exceptions and exception and throwable. That's it.
Sorry, please come
Do
again.
you have anything any runtime exception? Can you classify it? Null point is runtime exceptions.
Yeah, so null pointer, arithmetic, array index out of bound, these are actually runtime exceptions.
Okay. So where is the error comes in this stuff? I just curious to know about the errors, right? So,
So error is basically parallel to exception. Basically, like we
error.
have throwable. So one child of it is exception, and the other one is actually error.
Okay. So when do we get the error and how do we handle that?
Error is something that actually you kind of you actually cannot handle. You can only use best practices to handle that, basically. Like if there is some out of memory error, right? So that is something we can classify as error out of memory. So we can just use the best practices that we actually clean up the memory. We do not use a lot of variables. We actually optimize memory usage. Like we use the best possible collections. We do things like that. So error is something that you cannot handle as part of your code. You can just follow some best practices uh, to let your basically your code does not encounter that situation.
Okay. So let's move on to the collections as you touched upon. So do you heard about synchronized hash map?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the concurrent synchronized hash map?
Yeah, so basically concurrent synchronized hash map, it's concurrent hash map, which is where so it's a kind of hash map where suppose you do read operations. So into that, basically your map object is not logged only during the write operation, and that too that specified segment is basically logged, not the entire object is logged, basically. In case of synchronized, like if you have synchronized map, that object is completely logged for an operation. But in this concurrent hash map, only for write operation, that particular segment onto which you are writing is logged.
Okay. So let's move on to your next skill, Spring Boot. We have only 11 minutes left, so I just need to brush quickly. So let's answer quickly also. Okay. So Spring Boot. What I can ask? Okay. So I just want. I have the Spring Boot supports auto configuration. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, is there any way I can disable that auto configuration for some specific class?
Yeah, so for that, like auto configuration is a part of Spring Boot application annotation itself. If suppose you want to disable some auto configuration for a particular class, what you can do is over your application class, you can actually provide separately auto configuration, and inside the params to it, you can provide exclude is equal to, and then inside the curly braces you can provide as many as classes you actually want to exclude
Got it. So,
as part of it.
what is the annotation for the auto configuration?
Sorry, please come again.
What is the annotation name for the auto configuration?
Yeah, it's enable auto configuration.
Okay, so got it. So, I just wanted to make sure you are right.
Okay.
So, that's good. So, do you have experience with Spring Activator?
Honestly speaking, I haven't actually used or configured it into my application, but yeah, I know it is majorly used for health check and everything into the application.
Hmm. So you have not worked. So why I ask this is because you have rated yourself as 8.5 is the I would say the topmost rating which person gives so far when they know Spring Boot. So that's right. Anyway, okay. So can we override or replace the embedded Tomcat server in the Spring Boot? How do we do that?
Yeah, so if you actually want to replace the Tomcat server that is embedded, so in the pom.xml, basically you will have to exclude the dependency of it, and then include, suppose you want to use some other server. So you actually have to provide the dependency of that particular server basically.
Need to provide us dependency to server. Where do we specify?
In the pom.xml itself.
Okay, while starting or ending or middle, when do we specify this?
So basically that has to be provided as a dependency in pom.xml, then only you will be able to actually start your application. As soon as you try to compile it, it will actually download that particular dependency from the M2 repository, and then start your application.
Okay, I have something like this. Okay, I have base packages. Okay, so I wanted to exclude. Um, I want to exclude the particular package without using the base package filters. So is that possible?
So you are talking about component scan base packages, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so you actually want to exclude some some
Package.
package, is it?
Yes. Yes. I want to exclude some packages. I don't want to use the base package, the filter.
Okay,
So is there any option to do that?
you don't want to use the base package filter for that. So is it there on your class path basically? Is it
Sorry.
that is there on your class path, that particular package?
Yes.
So we can we can also use like inside the component scan, we can actually use the exclude filters attribute, I think, for that. And then we can actually provide the filter using the basically regex pattern which we actually want to exclude.
What is the annotation which you are talking about it
Yeah,
for that?
so the attribute is exclude, so it is at the rate component scan itself. Inside that you can actually do
Create
an
components.
exclude ex,
Do you heard about Spring Boot application annotation?
yes.
What is that? Yes.
Spring Boot application annotation basically does the components, can include the component scan, auto configuration. So both of these are actually included as part of it.
So can't we do with this to exclude our classes or any packages?
Yeah, you can mention it over there as well, or maybe you can specify in the component scan as well. The exclude.
Components we cannot use without base package, right?
Yeah, you can. No, actually, I
I
mean,
think my requirement is not to use the base package.
okay. Yeah, in that case, definitely you will have to go for at the rate Spring Boot and application to exclude that.
Okay, let's move on to RESTful web services since you have rated 9. So I am very much interested to have a discussion stay for a couple of minutes. Um, so, oh, do you work, work with SOAP or REST alone?
Yeah, I worked with REST.
Okay, so do you know why do you use REST? We have SOAP UI and SOAP web services, right? So why do you choose the REST? Any specific reasons being here?
So SOAP has basically a restriction to use XML based formats actually, and we do have as far as I know, we have a specific format that has to be followed for using SOAP. Like we have a SOAP envelope, inside that we have headers, we have body, like that we have to specify. Whereas REST doesn't actually pose any kind of restrictions on the format that you want to use. apart from that, it also doesn't actually, there is no specific format that is defined. It is not mandatory that you have to go for just XML. You can use JSON as well.
Okay, so what are the protocols used in REST?
Yeah, so it basically works on HTTP protocol.
Sorry, your voice is breaking. I'm not
Yeah, it
able to hear.
it actually uses HTTP protocol.
Okay, only HTTP, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there any other protocol used?
No, I don't think so. You cannot use any other protocol with REST.
Okay. So only. Okay. Fine. Do you heard about what I can ask? This one I can ask. Okay. So, uh, what are the methods you have been used uh, with HTTP?
Yeah, so majorly we use post, put, get, and delete mostly.
Okay. Post, post, delete. That's it.
Sorry, please come again.
What are the methods you used? I mean,
Yeah,
you have been used, and what is the purpose of it?
okay. So post is for creating a new entry, put is for updating that particular entry, delete is for deleting it, and get is for getting basically all the entries, or you may get some filtered entry based on whatever ID or something. Apart from this, there is patch as well, like if you want to actually update all the things, we do go for put. If we suppose we have to update one just single attribute, we do not want everything to be updated, in that case we use patch.
Okay. What are tools you have been used?
So I've used Postman and Swagger basically for this purpose.
Okay. What is JAX API? What is the purpose of that and JAX?
Are you talking about Jackson basically?
What are the APIs the REST supports? Okay, let me rephrase it in this way.
Yeah, so basically, like we have with REST majorly we have like Jackson libraries basically. So you actually define a REST endpoints, and basically it actually with Jackson libraries we can actually use those, and it also used to map this beans that we have, objects we have into JSON basically, or we can also have XML binders as well into that.
No, no, no. So you used JAX API. I mean,
Are you talking
what is
about
the
Jax annotations like at the rate path or something like
not
that?
analytics. I'm talking about see the rest is a concept, right? So which supports we can write code using one of the APIs,
Yeah.
correct? So what are the APIs do you have with the
So
rest? There are more than one API. So which one do you aware or which one you used?
so we have majorly used Jackson and Jax specifications itself. So
Okay,
mostly,
so
yeah.
what is the JAX WS and JAX RS?
Jax RS basically, I'm not very sure about it, but Jax RS, like it has multiple annotations as part of it, like at the rate path, at the rate request mapping, and things like that. Similarly, Jax WS might be having some different kind of things that are actually supported as part of it.
So you used JAK WS or JAK RS? Which one you used?
We are majorly using the RS one.
Why you haven't touched the WS? Do you have any idea?
Honestly speaking, I do not actually recall what is the part of Jax WS. I mean, Jax RS basically does not require XML messages. WS, I mean, it is, I think, something related to XML, and not very sure what is the part of it, honestly speaking.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. What is a CDC in microservices?
CDC, not sure. I'm not sure of the full form of it.
Consumer driven contract.
Not sure about it. So is
Okay,
it
so how do
some?
you, okay, let me tell you another one. So how do we develop a microservice for the external systems to use that?
Yeah, so like here we are having like we do have an for the microservice architecture for external services to actually access our microservice architecture. We have an API gateway into place, which actually does the discovery part using the service discovery. For that, we are actually using Eureka for that. So if suppose a request comes in from some outside the microservice architecture, there is a request that lands on, first it goes to the API gateway, then it goes to the discovery to actually find out which service is there, on which port, if it is up or down, which instance of it is up. It actually hits that particular service, the gateway, after resolving everything from the discovery, and then actually the request goes to that particular service.
Okay, mm, fine. So what are the reactive extensions?
React instances, is it?
Reactive extensions.
Not sure about that.
Okay. So have you worked with the what I can say continuous monitoring?
Yeah, actually, if you talk about monitoring system, we are just using Kibana for the monitoring purpose basically. Whenever there is a load run or something like that, we just provide the time period into it and we get the details out of it.
So in code, have you done anything to support that?
No, this is purely based on configuration, how we actually configure the Grafana tool basically for it.
Okay, so you haven't done anything related to that.
No.
Okay, fine. So um, what is a OAuth?
Sorry, please come again.
OAuth
Uh,
while typing.
sure. Okay, you are talking about OAuth. So that is basically for authorization purpose. Like we actually get a request from the UI, and basically we actually have to suppose authenticate the user. So that is why we use OAuth. There are different kind of mechanisms that you can actually use for it.
So do you used?
No, actually, we are basically using this Spring Security, and we are using bearer tokens for that.
Okay, so okay. My question is, I have application like GitHub and Facebook, all those things. So how do we authenticate the stuff with your applications using microservices? Right? So if you look at some of the applications, they'll ask you to sign into Facebook or Google, right? Once they sign in, your application will automatically kicks that out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this guy is okay, all the details pull in, and then registration, everything will done by. So how do we do such stuff uh, in microservices?
So this can be done, I think, using the single sign-on, basically.
Single sign on
Like,
outside the applications.
if suppose, for example, we are using some Cisco
Single
based,
sign-on be authenticated within the network, right?
yeah,
So
I
your application is not in the Facebook application network, right? Internet connection is same,
yeah,
but
okay, okay.
your is different. How do you implement the single sign-on for them
Yeah,
with your
then
applications?
within the same network, basically, we can implement. Like if for Cisco, like we have multiple applications, so using SSO, we can actually do that, but that is within the same network.
So my question is, uh, your application should ask the Facebook user ID and password and should be logged in if they are authenticated. That's what. How do you do that?
Yeah, so for that, I think definitely we can go for OAuth. Like we have a server running in which actually we get the OAuth token from that particular service server, and then we have in the other service we can actually validate using that OAuth token.
Okay, fine. So we are already running. I mean, lost the schedule time, and I have so many things to ask, but I cannot handle it right now. So I'm almost done with this. So do you have any questions for me?
No, I think I'm good with it.
Okay,
Okay,
fine. I'll share my feedback with the HRs. Okay,
sure,
so let them get back to you. Okay,
sure. Thank you.
thank you. Bye.